Yo, so what's going on, Battlefielders? My name is Pone, and we are back playing some more Bad Company 2. Been having a lot of fun playing this, not that suppression field shiznit. But anyways, today I want to talk to you guys, kind of give you guys a real talk. It's been a while since I've done one of these, and I addressed you guys a couple weeks ago, maybe about a week ago, when I told you guys that some random joke about alcohol or something like that, and you guys went through the comments and said, "Hey, Pone, talk about how alcohol has infected your life, people you know, people you love, and how it's impacted your life." And I'm like, all right, let's go for it. Let's make a real talk about it. So let's take it back. Let's talk about giving you guys a little bit of background in my life, and you can understand the influences in the people I've dealt with that have been alcoholics. My father, my uncle, and my grandfather were the only three males in my life. The only three people that I saw on, I guess a week-to-week, month-to-month basis. The only people that I saw, I guess, routinely through the first 15, 18 years of my life, something along the lines of that. All three of them were extreme alcoholics. All the males in my family had serious drinking problems. My dad would go through a 24-pack every time I saw him in one night. My uncle was the same. It'd start from when he woke up to wherever. My grandpa was crazy. He'd have his little mixes together, have a screwdriver every time he went to go dancing and stuff like this. Not both, but all three of them were extreme alcoholics, and they were dependent on it. And I formed this kind of, I guess, barrier around me and people that drank. And I started, as a child, I started to understand how alcohol was used. My experiences as a child watching what was going on, it was like me sitting there reflecting. I thought they drank, and what I used to do is I used to target alcohol as the problem for why my father didn't want to spend time with me. I used to target alcohol for why my grandfather was mad and he was angry all the time. I used to blame the drinking, and it was because I would rather have something else to pin the fault and the blame to, because I didn't want to admit that it was my father that didn't want to see me or any of those kind of situations. It was like I blamed the alcohol because I thought that made them act that way. And in reality, as I got older, as it progressed, and I started getting older, 10, 11, 12 years old, I started noticing that my father drank because he hated his marriage. He hated the life he lived. He used to sleep around on his wife, and it was this moment, this period, he'd get on, he'd play euchre, which is a card game. He'd get on and play cards all night, flirt with random women, and he'd drink the whole time. And it was the only time I ever saw my father smile. He'd have fun. It's the only time he'd ever talk to me. It's the only time he'd ever do anything. And it was like a truth serum, if you will. He'd always tell me things. I was about 13 years old the first time he told me that he knew my sister was mine. He declined for the years and said my sister was not, his actual child. And he confessed. He's like, I know, but my wife just won't let me get away with it. She brainwashed him. She had him whipped. And it was his own damn fault. She got him cheating numerous times. I mean, she had a leash on him. And, alcohol was different. I saw how it at the same time, as I was a young kid, as an extremely young kid, 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, I saw it as a problem. It was what was taking my father away when it was actually him. And then as I got older and he started drinking, he started confiding in me, he started talking to me. And that's when I actually thought I had the opportunity to get to know him. That's when he actually came out and told me things. He talked to me, and he actually seemed like he had interest in me. And the only time he would ever do that, it was if he was drunk. And then the next day would consist of him not waking up till 2 or 4 in the afternoon, and, our time that we were supposed to spend together was wasted. He spent his nights playing cards, getting drunk. He wouldn't wake up till the next day was over, and that's kind of the process that went through. My uncle was the same way. He was just extremely, stuck to himself. He'd stay in the house, not do anything. So I guess my initial experiences with alcohol was kind of like an escape for people. People would drink to deal with their problems. So whenever I think of alcohol, I thought of it as being a negative thing. As a child, seeing all my loved ones reliant on alcohol, that would always be the easy way out. Instead of accepting responsibility, instead of doing what you need to do, instead of stepping up, manning up, taking care of your job, taking care of your family, these guys used it as a crutch. They did it to escape the problems and the stress of real life, and they used alcohol to do that. They would get into their routines and just forget about all the flaws in their life and neglect responsibility. In this case, like my father, he didn't care about me. He'd rather drink and ignore any sort of stress, and rather than doing what he needed to do. And I blamed alcohol for that for the longest time. It felt like it took my father away from me. And that was my problems with that. It's something that I dealt with. And my grandfather, he mellowed out over the years, but he used to be an angry drunk. He'd spill his drink and he'd want to hit a woman. It's just like things got really, really crazy back in the day. And my uncle Chris, he was extremely violent. He used to get drunk all the time. marriage has been on the rocks and everything like this, and it's like people used to drink. When I looked at people and people that drink, I always thought it was to escape something. So, you know, even when I think of kids, college kids drinking, I think they're only drinking because they're stressed to like schoolwork or something, you know, so I didn't understand it. And, you know, and then you see all your friends. As I grew up and I was a teenager, you know, I see all my friends getting trashed and drunk. They're like, oh, it's so much fun. I'm like, no, it's not. Where's the fun in this, you know? And they start doing it just because society and people say it's cool. Everybody else is drinking. You need to, too. Fuck it, dude. You wake up tomorrow, don't remember what happened. Woo! You know, I never understood that. So there were two extremes. Either A, people drank in my life to get away from their problems, or B, people drank to seem cool. You know, I've tried alcohol. I've drank a few times. I've never got buzzed or drunk, so I can't tell you exactly what that is. But I've had alcohol, no problem. Different kinds of this and that. But I've never seen the drive to it. That just may be me. You guys may have your own experiences, but I don't see the satisfaction in doing it. I do know that it does, I guess, alter your senses and messes with you a little bit, and I guess can be relieving and useful, so you actually feel something. So I understand how people use that for the same reason they use drugs or masturbation or something like that, you know, for the same reason I used video games at the time. I had so many problems in my life, and the only way that I could deal with my problems or not let them affect me was by playing 8 hours a day of video games. I used video games as my crutch. So I'm not saying everybody has those things, but I felt that alcohol was one of the more dangerous kinds of things to get addicted to. And most people are like, oh, it's not addicting. No, the alcohol is not necessarily addicting. It's the feeling that you get when you're doing that. You know, there's less things that you have to deal with. So that's what people started getting attached to. And throughout those periods, it changed. And then as I got older, 18, 19 years old, one of my best friends at the time, I felt like I was losing him. The only guy that I've known like my entire life. You usually have that one person you trust, confide in, and you've done everything with. You know, he knows everything about me. He's one of the only guys that we hung out with. We've been in trouble. We've been, you know, it's just like my best friend up until years. And he started hanging out with some younger kids at the time, you know, 14, 15-year-old kids that were partying all the time, going to these parties, going out, you know, playing Pong, all these things. And it was that lifestyle that you're used to seeing kids in college doing, but we never went to college. So he started hanging out with these 15-year-olds, and, you know, he was the cool kid. He was 18 years old. He was driving them around, and you know, that's when he started picking up drinking. He never started drinking or never did drugs before that or anything like that, but it took hold of him, and I felt like I lost my friend for the time. And I think people just did it because it's popular, because other people are doing it. I think that's why they use alcohol. When I have cravings or something, dude, I want ice cream or something. Let's go play, you know, some video games. You know what I mean? I've never understood the addiction behind it, and mainly because I've never really, I guess, got into it. I'm not one of those people that tries to get addicted or anything like that, or I'm not one of those people that falls back on something if my life is getting rough. My life can be stressful many times. I've been depressed many a time, and I've never found anything to fall back onto. I just casually played video games because it was there, but I've never actually gone out, wanted to pay money to drink and forget, you know what I mean? So it's always been a very, very confusing thing in my life, and I know alcoholism is a bad thing. I've been to the meetings, I've seen the coins, and, you know, I've been to all kinds of things throughout drugs and alcohol and growing up, and it's the kind of thing that I was exposed to, the kind of thing that I had to see. And it was a very negative thing as a kid, and then as I got older, you know, people were just doing it to do it because it was what everybody else was doing, and my friends were getting shit-faced and things were happening, and, you know, and then you know, I knew girls, they were getting raped because they get drunk and pass out at parties and find out that they got raped or something like that. And it's like, it just seems like I don't see the fun in it, you know. For as many people like, oh yeah, man, I love getting toasted, let's get wasted, and then something bad always happens, you know what I mean? So I've always stayed away from it. In the defining moment where I realized I didn't want to, and that's kind of what it was, I didn't want to be my father. I've always been afraid to become what my father was. So anything that my father did, you know, drugs, alcohol, anything like that, you know, not being faithful to his wife, I've always been afraid to become him. So anything he did that I deemed as improper, I went ahead and made sure to do my hardest to not do that. So that's why I do not drink. That's why I do not sleep around. That's why I did not do any of that stuff. Is because I wanted to do life the right way. I didn't want to turn out like him. So but by him neglecting me, he was accidentally my best inspiration. He was like, oh yeah, you know what I mean? He didn't mean to, but he was my goal to not be. You know what I mean? And through all that problems, through all those times that we had, you know, I drifted away from my family. I drifted away from my mom. And when I was a kid, my mom rarely drank. She drank at an opportunity, and I always knew when she drank, because anytime I'd open up the fridge door and I'd see a six-pack in there, I knew it was because she was depressed. I'd start crying. I'd start throwing a fit. I'm like, Mom, I love you. Why are you drinking? Because I knew that she was sad. You know? I mean, there's things that trigger that kind of stuff, and I'm like, Mom, don't be sad. and I'd break down and I'd start crying, trying to take it away. There was times I'd throw away her drinks because, you know, I'd do it. She'd get mad at me for it, and I was just trying to help her and protect her. And I knew what it did to my family, and I was just all kind of mixed up about what it was, the kind of signals I had. And then my friends were getting drunk, and they started doing that kind of stuff. And then one of the defining moments, outside of not trying to be like my father, when I realized I didn't want to drink, is as we got older, me and my best friend were hanging out. A lot of our friends went to, you know, the Navy, the Army, this and that. One of our buddies went to college here at OSU, and he came back after his first semester, and, you know, we hung out with him, like, how's the trip, man? He's like, dude, I found these two guys that are just like you two. And I'm like, oh, that sounds awesome. You must have some funny motherfucking friends, you know what I mean? I'm like, those guys are cool. Let me meet them guys. And he's like, yeah, man, they get like so wasted, and they act just like you. And I'm like, so I had to sit back and do the math. So I'm like, those guys plus alcohol equals Pone Star, right? So then I started to think, like, if those guys, you know, because I'm a goofball, you know, I'm one of those guys that'll do dares and random stuff, and I'm funny, outgoing, as long as it's people I'm comfortable around, not like big party settings. But, you know, I'm a goofball, and when he came back, that moment right there scared the shit out of me. I'm like, if your friend's drunk, act like me sober, I'm afraid to find out the kind of person I would be if I actually drank. You know, I honestly, I would think that I'd probably be one of those chill, funny drunks. But I'm afraid that I'd become an asshole, or I'd go over the top. You know what I mean? So that kind of struck a little bit of fear into me, like, and it also kind of made me want to. It kind of made me want to kind of mellow out. I'm like, if I'm acting like how drunk people normally act, I'm kind of worried about what's going on a little bit. But I know I've dealt with many experiences through that, and you know, I've dealt with other family loved ones with drugs. I guess I could do a real talk on that in a couple weeks if you want. Just drop a comment down below if you guys want that. I know that may hit home for a few people, but alcohol is a very, very serious thing. Some people could drink it here and there. But some people really, really, really rely on it, and I saw that a lot through my father, and you know, I blamed him for the longest, and I blame alcohol, and you know, I just saw so much negativity wrapped around it. I've never actually enjoyed it, and I've never ever wanted to. I've to this day never understood why people do it, because there's so many other things out there, but I'm glad it's that over, you know, like a really heavy drug or anything like that. But again, that's just my experiences with alcohol. Let me know if you guys have had any, if you don't want to put it in an actual comment, which is great because people really don't know you. It'd be good to know that other people have had similar situations that you have had. So put a comment down below or send me a message or a tweet or something like that if you've had anything, if you want to spread the word around or explain how you've done. But I've seen, you know, I've had people in my family that's crazy. I had a cousin that ended up killing a gay guy. He got into a conflict when he was drunk at a bar, and he ended up beating up this guy because he was a homophobe, and he killed a guy and left him in a dumpster. And you know, like things get crazy, and I know I've got a lot of bad problems with alcohol in my family, and that's just kind of where I deal with. So let me know what you guys think, if you guys have had any experiences with it, or if you know, you're college kids, you're having fun, you're going out there partying, getting drunk. Just understand that people can see that differently than what you do, and it hurt a lot of family when these people did that kind of stuff. And you know, you just got to keep your eyes open to what you're doing to other people too. But anyways, thanks for watching, guys. Peace out. Get it.